Fantastic. Well, I imagine today's training must have been pretty good. Tails are up, and that was a fine performance at the weekend.
More of a recovery session today for the players, or most of them. Some tried a little bit harder, but yeah, I mean, on the back of rightly so at times, being questioned. Could we create more? Could we score more? But I thought it was a very powerful performance on Saturday, both the physicality of the side with the running demands and the energy of the side, but also the quality and the way that we opened up as different ways of creating chances. So, a really nice balance to a performance, but as I always say, it gets parked very quickly. So that'll be out the system today and ready for the next one, which obviously is Fulham.
But the energy is pleasing, though, and that's something you tend to get at this time of the year, isn't it? That's the way it tends to work, even in spite of all these games in such sort of quick succession.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken recently, not necessarily, you can't always guarantee results, but what you're looking to guarantee is or certainly as a manager and a coaching team, is the organisation's good, the physical performance of the players is good, and obviously mentally they're right and proper to play. And then they have the freedom to use their technical quality, and when that mix is right, then you get good performances, and we try and obviously work towards that and all the different them four blocks. And I think Saturday it really came together nicely. But as I said, it gets parked very quickly. The players here are, they're quite an experienced group, so there's no naivety to it. We know that we've got to continue in that vein against whatever opposition we come against. Obviously, look, it can be more difficult. It's very difficult to get that feel of a game against Liverpool and Man United and Chelsea and Man City and Tottenham, etc., 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 amongst many others, by the way. But when you're outside of the sort of superpowers, can you find a way of affecting the game? And that's what we did on Saturday. But you've got to do that again. Fulham comes round, they had a great result themselves. So, we've got to go out with that mindset and that delivery of performance again.
The big worry was what happened to your captain, Ben Mee. What's the situation?
Yeah, he's fine actually, but we still have to follow the protocols, the medical protocols. So he won't be available just by them protocols. He's actually fine in himself. But, we understand why they're there and safeguard the players, of course.
And yet that's remarkable, bearing in mind the kind of scenes in and around him when it happened. You kind of thought, well, that's one that's going to rule him out for a season.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very difficult, I think, for medical teams now because there's that many rules and they're rightly so, by the way, to make sure players are safe, and to get on there quickly to affect things. And they have to be cautious. So therefore, they had to, maybe do the things they had to do. But then it was a strange one. 5 minutes later, walking down behind me while we were watching the game. So good in a way that he did come walking down behind me, and he was pretty clear afterwards that he was fine. So, but yeah, the medical teams have to make sure that these players are right, and they certainly did.
And I imagine for the goal scorer, Matt Loughton, no problems with ego and running around the training ground like Cafu. He's not one of those sort of people.
No, it's fair to say that he's got a very good, dry sense of humour. He's good in the camp with that side of things. I thought he was excellent. I think his performance level lately actually has risen again. I think he continues to search for that true belief in himself because he's a very good player. Technically, he's a very good player. He certainly showed that the other day. Some of his passing I thought was excellent. His forward play for the goal was excellent. So he's a player that continues to develop. I feel. I've spoken about that many times. I'm all for it, no matter what age players are. We've got a reasonably experienced group here, that kind of 28, 29, 30 age group. But I was talking to Wesley today about how he continues to develop, his game and playing forward and putting the ball at risk more. He hit a pass inside on Saturday, early on in the game. If that was De Bruyne, they'd be all over it. And actually, funnily enough, on Match of the Day, they gave it to Mount Loughton, which got a bit of a laugh today. So it was the Lout show, it seems. But I like the players, no matter what age, to be continuing their development, and I think the players here continue to work hard. And I think Laus is showing good signs of that. I thought he was excellent on Saturday, and his general run of form has been very good.
But not just the strike, the build up to that goal. I mean, the whole thing is pretty compelling to watch.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not really fussed about that, as everyone knows. We want to be effective in our play. I spoke to the players today about being effective. We stretched the pitch well. We played when we could. We fought when we could because Palace, at the end of the first half, came back into the game for 15 minutes and had us on the back foot. But we fought and we protected our goalkeeper. So, we have to operate in many different ways to win games in the Premier League. That's what we found. It's not, some people put it about yourselves, of course, you've got to deliver as well. But often, you're not trying to play on the back foot. Most teams want to play on the front foot with energy and with quality. But you're playing against some very, very good oppositions in the Premier League. So, that can't be taken for granted. You have to earn that with your performances. So, it's a restart straight away. We enjoyed it. It was a good win, very thorough win. The lads are good feel about it today, of course. But it restarts again as soon as the next whistle blows. That's our intention. We focus on the next game very quickly.
But perfect ingredients going into a block of 3 games against teams in and around you, bearing in mind you've got 3 goals there and clearly you clipped a clean sheet.
Well, it's only perfect if you get the right results. Recently there's a run of games I think people didn't expect us to get many points, and we did. So, the expectation varies. It's our in-house expectation is the real key, I think. How we control ourselves and our performances. So that's what we'll be searching for, is for us to take control of our own performances, not really worry about what people are thinking on the outside.
And as you said, kind of Fulham made everyone kind of sit up and take notice, winning at Everton.
Yeah, good performance. We played them recently. Don't get me wrong, 2 chain sides in the cup. They sort of went through a spell of, more defensive spell of getting points, but a very good performance against Everton. So I say it all the time, you can't be in the Premier League unless you've earned the right to be there. And the early season, Sheffield United had a real tough time. They've started changing them maybe games into wins, and getting the right side of it, because they're a good outfit. No one in the Premier League a bad outfit. It's just, getting the right side of the margins, getting the performance levels right, getting consistency, all them things. So I certainly never looked at Fulham as being a side who are not capable. They're all capable in the Premier League. Equally, and if not more with our experience, then we're capable. So it's about delivering performances. It always comes down to that for what I believe is right and proper for our group, is getting the performances right.
Just a final one from me, and it's probably flippant. Did you ever hit one like that yourself? I Googled Sean Dyche worldly goals.
Many.
I Googled it today and I got
17 world-class goals I scored, even though I only scored 13 in my career, I think.
It said 12 actually in the stats that I read.
I scored one, though, I don't like to mention it. FA Cup semi-final, 50,000 in the stadium, about 100 million watching at home. Don't like to mention it. 1 for 1. I know it was 1 for 1. Pretty good record, but I don't like to mention it.
You gave away a penalty in that game as well, didn't you?
Outside the box. 100% if it's VAR, it'd be outside the box. And the referee had a particularly good game, I think you'll remember, on that day. Enough said.
Lovely to see you.
Cheers.
Thanks, James. Emma from BLP.
Hi, Sean. You say there the expectation internally and how that can vary. With the position you're in right now, I think 8 points clear of Fulham. Where are you at? Are you looking up the table or over your shoulders?
No, I think there's a reality to any situation in the Premier League that we've been involved with, and that's that we stay focused on this idea of the next game's important, but there is a bigger picture. The players, they'll have all kinds of stats and figures and things put about what they're doing. And I think we've always had the mindset of getting to them kind of key points level markers that most speak about, not everyone, but that kind of 38 to 40 points. The eagerness really and the sort of desire to get there quickly, because if you can get there quickly, it opens up the rest of the season. And we showed that last season after lockdown by eventually finishing 10th with some really good performances. On our Europa season, we did that as well. We had a little sticky spell after Christmas. Then we put, I think it was 4 or 5 wins. I think it was 5 actually back to back, and finished the season strongly. So, it's that kind of thinking. Can you keep going? Can you keep going again? But the first marker, and it's not a negative. The first marker is to get the points on the board that you think are capable, because then it brings that little tiny bit of freedom to take on the rest of the season. But within that, that's kind of the bigger picture. The smaller picture is just the next game. We've always worked with the players on that basis, staying focused on the next game.
In some ways, though, does it feel like this could be a pivotal game in that you win it and that 11-point gap is there again? Should you lose it, suddenly that's just 5.
Not really, no, because the fact is no one thought we'd win against Liverpool. No one thought we'd come back against Villa. Really good win at Palace. Maybe a few were going, could they go down there and put in that performance? The seasons are not defined, or rarely, unless you get right to the end, of course. Seasons are rarely defined over one game. But it's helpful to say when you beat the teams around you. But you've got to get points wherever you can in the Premier League. And we've done that over time. We've done that when we've needed to. But I can assure you the points of any part of this is the oldest one in the book is the business end of the season. Trust me, the first game of the season could be the business end of the season. Every game's important in the Premier League. So, every game, literally, no matter who you're playing, is very important. We try and win them all. Obviously, it's not that easy, but that's the intention.
Just a final one from me on Jay Rodriguez. You praised him quite a bit after Saturday's game, but just generally speaking, how pleased are you with the patience that he's shown this season, the competition with the other strikers, and I suppose the way that he's taken his opportunity recently?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a couple of injuries. People forget that. He had a few weeks out. We know what he's about, Jay, and I think he's been slightly off mark a little bit over the last few weeks, and then he just came to life again, and that's because of his experience and his demand on himself. For all he's quite an unassuming lad, Jay, but there's an inner toughness to him, mentally and physically. He's got a good demand on himself, to do the right things. I just thought him and Barnsley, for different reasons, on Saturday were excellent. Jay with his constant threat with his pace and his running in behind and some of his hold-up play, and Barnsley because he's an awkward customer. And when you get a combination with two strikers, it can be very, very effective. Yet again, you're looking for that consistency of performance, when they can deliver that as many times as possible over a season. But I was very impressed by there were so many good performances, to be honest. I appreciate maybe people were saying Palace had a quiet day. That can happen, but you've still got to perform, and I thought our performance was very good.
Thank you. Good luck Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Sam Stone, please, BBC.
Hi, Sean. Just to clarify with Ben, was it a concussion? So he's been diagnosed with concussion, effectively.
Yeah, he wasn't sure himself when he went down, so they've had to really use the footage, to make sure, and then the concussion testing afterwards. So it's the precautionary timescale that they use of that 6 days. So because he's absolutely, he's fine, and he has been ever since. But they had to look at the footage and decide whether he just, went out for, even if it's 5 seconds or whatever. So we'll have to go with the medical protocols, quite obviously.
Is that your medical staff that do that, or is that the Premier League that look at that?
No, your own medical staff. I think they're properly trained, let's say. I think they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think it's happened before. That's why I'm just clarifying. Just in terms of the work that you're doing, and you're talking about the results that you've had, how much harder do you think it is getting results in the Premier League? If you stay up this year, you'll be into a 6th season. Is it getting harder year on year?
I think the growth in your group, it doesn't make it easier, but it gives them more awareness of what's needed to be in the Premier League and to win enough games in the Premier League to continue in it. I think that the hardest thing over a longer period is the recruitment. Recruitment's very difficult in the Premier League, in all leagues to be fair, but in the Premier League it's very difficult. So one of our major challenges is keep developing the group that we have, but then recruiting into that group to enhance it. And I think that's the longevity of being in the Premier League and continuing in it, but often revolves around the right recruitment. And it's easier for certain clubs who have got enough money where they put it in regardless. This club hasn't been like that. I don't think it's going to be like that going forward. There possibly, we don't know yet, but possibly there might be a little bit more money around. We don't know until the next window. But I don't think they're going to put hundreds of millions in like some clubs do. I think it's going to be an ongoing process of developing the group, but also adding to it where we can. And that really is one of the hardest challenges, other than the obvious, which is to win games and stay in the Premier League by doing so.
I mean, it just strikes me as though every year, like Huddersfield got relegated, then last year Watford got relegated. The replacements of big city clubs, you've got to kind of continually punch above your weight, haven't you?
Yeah, but that's been a demand here for a long time. It's a town club backed fantastically well, I must say, by the town and the people of the town. But it is a town club. It is. If you a bigger picture sort of view of it all, it is actually a hell of an achievement, I feel, for a club of this size to continue in the Premier League as long as what we have been doing. I'm not saying that because I'm the manager. I just think the mentality has been excellent. Finding the balance of the business side of the club and putting enough at stake that you can improve. has been very difficult, but still doable, and we managed to achieve that so far. The ongoing process of it, and the ongoing kind of piecing together of a side that can be at least competitive and productive in the Premier League, that's the challenge. Keeping the mentality right, keeping the players improving who are with you, and then adding to it. So that really is the biggest challenge, to keep it all going. But no, from just a general football perspective, I think it's been a very big achievement for this club, what it's done and what we're looking to do going forwards.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Daniel.
Dan, what's happening, kid? You ain't had that. You ain't had that like curtain tied it up. Or you just tied it off or something in a ponytail or something? Oh wow! Seriously, bruv, what's happening? Called it. Do it. What is going on there, kid? It's not 1987.
Necessity is the mother of invention. Plus, you know me well enough.
What do you is it like top knots and all that? Are they back in now? I don't know. As you can tell, I really don't know the hair situation. It's not happening for me in the hair situation.
I was going to say people in glass houses and throwing stones.
He's even come round. Cameraman, yeah, he's come round. Look, just have a look. He just wanted to see the top knot. Show him again. There you go. That's bad, isn't it? Oh no, back knot. It's not top knot. That is so bad, bruv. Seriously, I'm not accepting that.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
I'm a big fan of your work.
Good feedback. It's just feedback. We're just sharing.
This is the dynamic we've got.
Well, somewhat.
Apparently. Where are we at on the great roller coaster that is your injury situation? Because it seems like there are times when you go in, we're trying to protect people and we don't want to lose anymore, and then there are those times where people are on their way back and you're feeling quite optimistic. Where are you? Yeah, because the
list has been up and down over the last few weeks. So I have had to list them this time because I often miss people out. Ben, that we've spoken about with the protocols. Eric Peters came off. I don't think it's that serious, but it's going to be touch and go, I think, just because of the speed of the turnaround. Matty Vidra is not as serious, so that's good news on the scan, but yet again, it's a bit of a quick turnaround. Charlie Taylor's made good progress and has trained for a few days with us, so therefore we'd like to think he comes back into the thinking and contention. And Woody, it'd be a risk scenario, and I've spoken over the last few weeks. We've had to go the right side and the safe side of them risks because we just keep losing players. So hopeful that he's getting better, but probably going to have to make a decision on that one ourselves rather than leave it to the player in this case.
How heartening is it when you are taking no risks with those that are injured, that those who either come back or are already in the team have really stepped up when you've needed them?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one has been, with Brownie going down and Corky's coming in and done very well, as Corky tends to do. But it's not a slight on Brownie because Brownie's been terrific for us. So, that's the competitive element I've spoken about, how important that is because it makes the group stronger from within. And so the balance of it is if someone does get injured, is the next player coming in and making making their mark, so to speak. And I think that adds to that competitive element, hopefully, when everyone is fit, because we've only had it really once or twice over a number of months now. But I think that in-house competition is very effective at keeping the group hungry and the desire for performances because, they all want the shirt, they all want to be in the team.
I know you would like more depth-wise, and I don't know a manager who wouldn't like more squad depth-wise, but that competition within what you do have, is that stronger than it's ever been?
I think when it's all fit, there's a good balance. I mean, we're still a couple of players light, I think, for that kind of true balance to the side. But what I did say, in all the question marks about signing players, I said, look, it's been so difficult because it does skew it somewhat when you've got so many injuries, and we haven't quite got everyone fit at any given time. We've been close, but not quite there. The other one I forgot to mention, sorry, there we go. I knew I'd forget one. Dale Stevens has got a knock as well, so we'll have to wait on him as well. Anyway, back to the point is when they're all fit, I did say that I think the group looks way more competitive than it did when there's so many injuries. But it continually looks stretched because we seemingly just can't get everyone quite fit and out there. So recruitment-wise, we still have to recruit, I believe. But when everyone's fit, we're at least competitive as a group, and that's something that I do know from our years of doing it, but also this year with the turnaround in fitness at Game 8 and then the performances and the points on the board since then.
People like me sit here and state the obvious and say stuff like, you scored 3 goals and kept a clean sheet at Palace, so that must have been great. When you look and analyse, is that a performance that really pleases you, even if you take out the goals that you scored?
Yeah, I think the manner of the performance, I think the balance of attack and defend at the right times. Very rare, I say it all the time, very rare that you completely dominate a Premier League game, as we didn't against Palace, but we dominated our share. But they had a very strong last 15 minutes to the first half, a couple of pockets of play in the second half, particularly towards the end when they, threw caution to the wind and really got a lot of bodies in the box and around the box. But other than dealing with that well defensively, I thought we were very good. The balance of play, the way that we dealt with the ball and the chances created was very pleasing. And some of the individual performances within that as well, I thought those were excellent performances.
Does that balance of the side have to be different when you're playing different sides? Say, if you're playing Man City compared to preparing to play Fulham, will that balance be different?
We try and treat the games, the build-up to the games, very similar. The players are not daft. They know when it's tougher in the sense of how a team plays. Man City, obviously, with their possession. I mentioned, a couple of seasons ago when Ederson came in, gives them a whole different profile, I think, Man City, because we know they can play. But Ederson can fire a 75-yard goal kick onto the back of your defenders, and get them in with a long ball, so to speak, when needed, that is, as another weapon. So, look, you've got to, the players mentally prepare for them games because they understand it's unlikely that you're going to have more of the ball than the opposition. You're going to have to defend, you're going to have to work. And then there's other games where you think, okay, it might be more of a balanced game. And then you've got to deal with the ball better and you've got to be more effective when you have the ball. So every game has a difference, and we try and find a consistency of how we work, the automaticity of a side to go and deliver and do all the right things and make the good habits like part of the staple of what we do. And that way it gives us, we believe, a competitive chance against anyone in the division.
And just lastly, bottom of the Premier League table, the 3 teams have been in there for a while, and it's been discussed the fact you've got a bit of a cushion down there. There's been many stories over the years, though, of teams getting out of those positions and making miraculous escapes. Do you get the impression that this might be one of those years, given the way the Premier League has been this season and consistency has been very hard to come by?
Who knows? I mean, this season is probably different to a lot. Some of the teams having good bursts of form. And then, you look at, say, Southampton had an amazing start and until recently then get beat 9 and you're scratching your head, you couldn't work it out. And then all of a sudden have a bit of a sticky spell. Villa just about had a little tough spell and then nicked another win and they stay up around at Leicester, of course, everyone thinks they're just going to ease away and then won again and, Fulham put out a result. I mean, it is a slightly more topsy-turvy league, it seems. I mean, you have to look back at each season. But it does feel a bit more like that. So, I don't know, it's a different one to call, I think. I mean, we always focus on what we do. Not really worried about what everyone else does, other than the awareness of how they're trying to do it, of course, tactically, etc. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But our main focus remains on us, looking after ourselves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. And finally in broadcast, John McDougall, please, from Lex Live.
Hi, Sean.
Hiya.
You mentioned obviously Mate being a bit touch and go, or he's potentially ready to come back. He obviously had a good game against Fulham when you played in the cup, despite not scoring. How impressed have you been with him this season?
Yeah, he continues to try to find a way, and I think he's got closer and closer with his performances. I thought he was excellent in the second half against Brighton. And then unfortunately, nicked a kind of small injury. Hopefully it's a small injury that doesn't keep him out long. He's been in and around it, that's for sure. But historically, you look at the other strikers, particularly the obvious ones are Barnes and Wood, although they've played together more, they've been productive. But no, we like Matty and, what he gives us. He is different to what we've got as well. So he gives us a different attacking threat when he's fit and well.
How wary are you of Fulham, especially given the result they had yesterday against a very talented Everton side?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing we've always had here is respect for everyone in the Premier League, and I think that's ongoing. So, whatever game we prepare for, I can assure you, we prepare for the games that people would deem easier. We certainly don't look at them like that, neither do the players. We'll be putting all of the prep work that we do the same as we would for what people would say the top teams, your Liverpools, your Man U's, your Man City's, Arsenal's, etc., etc. I can assure you the prep is really, really in depth, exactly the same. So we take everyone with a serious edge. There's no two ways about it.
On the contract front, a lot of work's been done over the past couple of months to really tie players down and not have a repeat of the situation we had last summer where you had several players out of contract. How much hard work has gone into that, and how much more confidence does that give you as a manager to plan forward?
Yeah, it's not always, it's an interesting way of putting it, hard work. Often it's just like, will you accept that? No, yes, okay, done. It's not always that big a hard work. It's just simple conversations that are open and then trying to get the right outcome. If you can hit the right outcome financially, most of the players here, not all, but most of the players here are satisfied with what we try and do here, their life here, their enjoyable, the enjoyment they have from being here and wanting to be productive. But they still command a certain level of contract, and we try and do what we can to make sure they're happy and feel settled at the club and ready to play for us.
Just a final one for me, just linking on to that. One of the few players that is out of contract in the summer is Robbie Brady. He's obviously still a player that you're using very frequently, an important part of your plans. What's the latest with him? Has there been any further talks with him about him staying longer?
The talks with all players are ongoing, no matter what level of contract they've got, other than the lads who've just literally signed, quite obviously. But as soon as they're a little bit into their contract, we always keep tabs with their agents and the players to let them know. That one will work itself out.
Thank you. Good luck on
Thank you.
Wednesday.
Cheers.